and welcome to the latest Northwest Counties League podcast, live from 4 living rooms across the country and beyond. Introduce our panelists, I guess. Do we call ourselves panelists? No idea. Anyway, I'm Martin Fallon, so hi to everybody. On my left, it's probably not the same on the on your screens, but he's a long-suffering man. For all his day job and stuff, but it's Mr. Gary Langley. Welcome, Gary.
You doing, Martin?
You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. How are you feeling?
I'm hungry. I might have to nip out and get something to eat during this podcast, but we'll find out anyway.
It's a professional job so far, isn't it?
Get it from elsewhere.
Uber Eats in Peterborough or Kendal or whatever it is that you begin with P.
Well, we don't get Uber Eats in Runcorn. See, so
fair shows.
So it's not one of my apps really. So anyway, down that away on my screen, Alex Thrower. Welcome back, Alex. You okay?
Hi. I'm very well, thank you, Martin. How are you?
Good. What have you been up to? Not a lot.
I'm back up in Manchester. I think the last one of these I was at home in Surrey, but yeah, back in Manchester now. Freezing cold, but enjoying it. Enjoying everything about. Not being in lockdown this year, which is lovely.
I know, yes. And we get to watch football.
Oh, all the football.
And our viewers are going, "Who's this?"
I know.
So we're pleased to welcome for the first time. Is one of our new Northwest Counties League journalists, Jay Cooper. Welcome, Jay.
Thanks, Martin. I'm quite happy to be on. I've not been doing too much myself, and I agree with Alex in the sense that we can actually go and watch football. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to do that nowadays. I started a podcast myself last year around this time when we weren't able to do that, so it was a really scrambling for information back then. But as of now, this is so much easier.
It's like the worst time to start a football podcast when there's no football.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was just about to say, have you come onto this podcast to plug your other podcast?
No, that's long abandoned now. Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, me and Gary aren't allowed to plug our other podcasts on
here. Yeah. I think it's exciting. Like as a starting point, it's just a discussion. Is the fact that obviously Plan B is going away now at sort of this week coming, and the fact that I think all of us have sort of realised we probably are going to get a full season of being able to go watch footballs. That's a huge positive.
Yeah. Well, at this level, it's the first time in 2 seasons as well. Well, 3 seasons if you include this one.
Oh. The way Runcorn Town are playing this season, I'd rather have no football.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Anyway, so we crack on. We've got a lot of games to cover. So there's 4 of us, so we're going to pick 1 game each, I believe, this week.
Yep.
From each of the divisions, not just 1 game each, because that'd be a short podcast. So where we go, Jay, pick a division to start with.
I'm starting, Emma. All right, I'll start with the one that I know most about, then the one that I've had the most experience watching, and that would be the Premier Division.
The Premier Division. Okay. So,
looking at myself.
Have we introduced Jay? Sorry, just before we go on.
Yes.
Well,
and then you had to go at me for plugging another podcast.
Yeah, as the league, Jay is the league.
I did say he's come on board as the league journalist. But Jay, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, all right, okay. My name's Jay. I'm 20 in about a week and a half, and I've recently given the role of the league journalist for the Northwest Counties League. And I've really been enjoying that so far. It just means there's been a few long read feature articles on the website that might not have been there without me. Coming from different teams.
Wouldn't have been, Jay.
Well, there you go. Coming from different teams, mainly around the West Lancashire area recently, because that's where I've been based up until today when I've come back to Manchester. I've covered teams like Longridge and Charlotte Richard, and I've got a history with Prestwich Hayes as well.
Very nice.
Everyone seems to gravitate towards Prestwich Hayes.
What's that?
Never been.
I've never been.
No. Maybe that's good. Maybe we should go.
So it's one of the grounds I've never been to.
Put that in the calendar. It's not a bad ground.
It's not even that far out of Manchester, is it? It's on
no,
get off at Bessissoe the Barn, which is the best ground stop.
Investors is the closest challenge stop, yeah.
Unreal. Sorry, Martin.
I was just having a look. I think Bursco's new ground and Prestwich are the only two in the Premier Division I've never been.
Well, what Prestwich have over Burscough is a clubhouse.
Sweet.
So,
Right, should we get?
Always good. So we'll start with the Premier Division. So Saturday, the 22nd of January, 2022. So I'll run through the games. Barnoldswick Town versus AFC Liverpool. Charnock Richard versus Macclesfield. Earlham versus Burscough. Lower Brett versus Avro. Northwich Victoria versus Litherland Remica. Prestwich Hayes versus Wythenshawe Town. Runcorn Town versus Squires Gate. Skelmersdale United versus Congleton Town. And Vauxhall Motors versus Ashton Athletic. So, Jay, I'm going to start with yourself. What game have you picked to sort of preview this week?
Well, sticking on theme, as I mentioned, my connection with Prestwich Hayes, I'm looking at their game going up against Wythenshawe Town at the weekend. It's not the first time this season that those two teams have met in the league. I was at the game that took place at Wythenshawe's ground. The name escapes me now. But the score doesn't. It finished 4-1 to Wythenshawe. And it was part of a fairly poor start to the season for Prestwich, but they certainly picked up recently. There was a very stunted December for Hayes, what with postponements coming from weather delays and COVID cases within squads. But they've started the new year very, very well. On the 3rd of January, a match that I returned to Manchester for to come and watch, they took all 3 points away from visiting Macclesfield. That was a very good game to watch. It was Macclesfield's third loss of the season, I think, which was a massive scalp for Barney and his players at the Eddie Moran Park. And followed that up with a 4-1 win away at Earlham. Again, I didn't watch, but I know that Jack Coop, who is the top scorer for Hayes this season, notched himself a hat-trick, and it's certainly not his first of the season. Going up against Wythenshawe Town, something to keep an eye on is the fact that Lee Grimshaw, who I believe is going to start, a little bit of early team news, I've been told anyway. But I think it's quite sentimental, just on account of the fact that it would be, provided he did, his 100th game for Prestwich Hayes over the course of 2 stints. So
Matt Barnes is going, no, don't tell him team news.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure he'll get over it.
What formation are they going for, Jay?
It's all right. But if we do see an appearance from Lee Grimshaw, it will be the 100th time he's pulled on the Hayes colours, which is a nice little talking point. I'm not too clued up on Wythenshawe. I know that actually earlier this month they've taken all 3 points off Macclesfield as well, off the league leaders, and it certainly brought the title race a little bit. It certainly made that a little bit more interesting. Skemmer now breathing down Macclesfield's neck, and I know that those two teams play each other on January 29th, which happens to be my 20th birthday.
What a present!
It's a good plug, that.
Absolutely, yeah. And the Mecca, and I'm going and working, I think, to cover it. But it is a game I'm looking forward to as well. That is, as I am with the one this weekend. Yeah.
I think sort of Wythenshawe Town is quite an interesting one at the moment because they're obviously doing really well in the league, but they've also
and the Vars, yeah,
and the Vars. That's the thing, and I think
that's right. I forgot about that.
It'll be really interesting to see how they balance those two going forward because I know a lot of teams. You know, I remember covering Horsham in the FA Cup this year. When they were playing Carlisle, they said that was a real distraction from the league, and it's whether you see it as a momentum builder or you see it as a hindrance. So,
yeah, I think the way Wythenshawe are playing, you know, they're going into every game full of confidence, and there's nothing going to knock that at present. You know, they're on fire, really. Just on that FA Vars draw, I know it's a bit of a tangent, but they potentially got drawn away to Wroxham. Wroxham again, they're playing a team called Anstey Nomads, and Anstey got knocked out by Walsall Wood. So Walsall played an ineligible player in the competition. Anstey got put back in, and they've got to go to Wroxham this coming Saturday. But that's a hell of a journey for Wythenshawe, isn't it? It's 5 hours. It's the 20 minutes the other side of Norwich.
Yeah.
Oh,
hell of a journey on a coach.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a horrendous one if they get beat as well.
Norfolk coast though, it's quite pretty.
I don't think they're staying over, Alex.
Just trying to look at positives there, Martin. You know, they might get a nice sort of holiday out of it. But...
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure, Chris will be plowing the money into them staying over for the night.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Martin, do you want to go next with your Premier?
No, I can wait. I'll let you go next, Alex.
Do you want me to go?
Still researching.
Well, then, yeah, Martin's doing his lot. Yeah, don't worry. You just
How dare you?
Right. I've gone for Vauxhall Motors versus Ashton Athletic, which, to be honest, is not a tie that really captures the imagination. It's 13th versus 19th. Ashton Athletic not doing great at the moment. They're on a 6-game losing run. Haven't actually won a game since mid-November, since Chelsea were in the title race, but whatever. And I think 4 points off the relegation zone, they are starting to look over their shoulder, definitely. So they've got a bit to play for in it. Vauxhall Motors, I chatted with Mick McGrath a few weeks ago. If you haven't read the piece, go read it on the website.
Nice plug.
Got this, don't you worry. You know, they've had a really mixed season. They've, I think, been a bit disappointed, got really disadvantaged by COVID throughout November and December, and had a really terrible run of form. But they've won their last 4. They've turned a bit of a corner. They're still in, I think, is it the Cheshire Senior Cup? Could be getting that wrong. We'll find out. And so they're just looking to get their league season back going. I spoke to Mick. This is a bit of a rebuilding campaign for them now, going into next summer already. So it'll be an entertaining game. It should be an entertaining game, but not too much riding on it for Vauxhall. Ashton really do need a win, or at least a point. That's my preview.
Yeah, they had a good away win last Saturday, I thought. But yeah, definite rebuilding phase. But I think they just come up, didn't they, this summer? You know, you always say if you're going to get promoted, make sure you don't get relegated again. And you know, if they survive, I think they'll definitely push on next season anyway. Myself.
Who, Ashton? Yeah.
No, Vauxhall.
Vauxhall, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
They'll want to regroup in the summer. They're bringing in some experienced players. There's got quite a young squad, and it's just about building up that level of experience in the league for them. I think.
Gary, do you want to go next, or do you want me to prove that?
I'll have a dabble.
Do you want me to prove that I'm not? I have done some research, and I'll.
You've been called out, Martin.
Oh, that's all right. Save the best till last.
No,
okay, I'll go now. No, go on. See what I did there.
Yeah, comedy on this podcast.
You going for it, Martin, or do you want me to?
No, you can.
Okay, I'll have a little look at a mid-table clash. So Barn Oldswick versus AFC Liverpool for me. Now, Barn Oldswick are very fresh from a 4-0 away defeat at Remaker on Wednesday evening. That ultimately kept them 11th in the table. Now, what's more significant about that for Barn Oldswick is that there's 5 clubs right behind them, within 2 points of them, and that have got a game in hand on them as well. So that was a big defeat for Barn Oldswick. And I could possibly get away with arguing that it was quite a surprise as well. But Remaker, they're fighting for their lives, so maybe it wasn't too big a surprise, but it's still an impressive result for Remaker nonetheless. Obviously, Barlick, they're taking on AFC Liverpool, and they're still smarting from a late and dramatic defeat at Abbey Hay in the FA Vars as well. It's still the furthest AFC Liverpool got in their history, but I think they weren't too impressed with the fact that they were so close and that they just had snatched away from right at the death. So in that respect, both clubs are looking to go into this to get the respective chins back up.
Thank you, Gary. And I think they did well at AFC Liverpool. And I seen that on Twitter that they were kicking themselves quite a bit, you know, at losing. I think primarily because they took the lead in the 90th minute, didn't they? And then conceded a goal 4 minutes into stoppage time to, you know, level, and then lost on penalties. But like you say, it's a fantastic run, best they've ever done. That'll take a lot from
it
that.
Is. And I was speaking to Chris Stirrup the other night because he popped up here to chew the fat and discuss footballing issues, and we were talking about the events of the day, and he's still forlorn even now over the manner of the defeat. and the way it all came about. But sometimes you've got to look at what you've achieved and build on it, and I think they will. It's not looking too great for them in the league at the moment. They're not likely to drop or anything like that, and they put in good performances every time I've seen.
It could be worse in the league, Gary.
What makes you say that, Martin?
Just saying, they could. Anyway, so the game I picked was Skelmersdale United. Excuse me, bit of COVID there. Not really. Skelmersdale United do take on Congleton Town at home. So Skelmersdale, superb form at the moment, I think. The second in the table, like you mentioned earlier, just 2 points behind Macclesfield now, thanks to that defeat at the hands of Wythenshawe Town. They did lose at Winsford at the start of the year, the first game of 2022, but that was mainly down to a disastrous first half that they found themselves 3-0 down at the break. They did come back. They left themselves too much to do. They got beat 3-2 ultimately. And they say any good team sort of bounces back, really, and they definitely did. They won 4-1 at home to Burscough in the next game, and then 3-2 away at Prestwich Hayes in their last game. And it's that firepower that served them really well this season. They've scored 85 goals in just 34 games. That's a ratio of 2.5 goals a game. And that's only bettered by Charnock Richards, really. Macclesfield, for the record, they're down in 7th place for sort of goals scored per game. They've also got the best defence in the league. And, everything's set up for a really good second half of the season for Skelmersdale if they keep it together. As I mentioned, they play Congleton this weekend. For me, it sort of depends what Congleton turn up, really. They're capable of some fantastic results, and then they lose games that they really shouldn't. So, I can certainly see them going there and beating Skelmersdale. They got beat on Saturday in the FA Vars. They were one of the last four North West Counties clubs in the Vars. That was at Whitchurch Allport. That was their third loss in the last 4 games. So the only win in the last 4 did come against lowly Padiham. They're in 8th place in the table. They will be disappointed with that, I think, especially given the good start that they had. They were up there with Macclesfield at the very start of the season. And with the talent in the squad, they've got some really good players at their disposal this season. On the road, it's not been too good for them. They played 18 times away from home and they've only won 7 games. So knack on the line, I think, as Skem can play as they can. It's got to be a home win for me, really, in that game.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to begrudge you for predicting that either. So they are in very impressive form.
But having said that, I wouldn't be surprised if Congleton they're capable of like a 3-0 win or something. You go, wow. That's what we've said for years, Gary, haven't we? Congleton, the most frustrating team in the league.
Always flattered to deceive and disappoint us right at the last minute. They always get so close yet so far away. And even next season, we'll predict them to get promoted because it's just the way they are.
Yeah, they will.
Maybe it's you guys putting a curse on them.
Yeah.
It's not so much that, Jay. It's the fact that if you go to Congleton, it's a really, really well-run club. They've got really decent support there, year on, year out. The ground.
I was there this season.
Yeah, the ground is fantastic, and they're all geared up to go up. Apart from on the field, and they tend to get really good teams, and they just
there's just 1 or 2 games a season, like games that on paper they'd win.
Yeah, they went through a run earlier this season. I think it was 7 games without a win, and 9 games without a win. You think,
I'm going to go on records and lift the curse on Congleton by saying I've got a lot of time for them. I went to one of their games behind closed doors and had a great day out. So, but I was working, obviously.
How did you manage that?
I was going to say, did you just jump over the fence?
I was doing it from non-league paper. It was in the Vars, all the trophy Vars. In April, it was the Vars. Yeah, but yeah, they'll get promoted next season.
Oh,
yeah,
famous last words.
Yeah. Should we move?
Is that curse extended?
Let's
find out.
The next generation have picked up on the curse.
Right.
That's it now. It's done for another 10 years.
Yeah.
Alex, you're getting the blame if they don't next season.
Can't wait.
So let's draw the line under the Premier Division and move on to the. I guess we're just going to go Premier Division North and South as per usual. So we'll move in.
Should we go South? Should we do South first?
No, because you started Premier, so they're in order now. So
someone's done their prep in one order. I see, Martin.
Well, I do have the ability to read what's second above there. I can
scroll down on a
do that.
Screen.
Yeah. So the First Division North, Saturday, 22nd of January, is Ashton Town versus Garstang, Bacup Borough versus Campion, Golka United versus Daisy Hill, Holker Old Boys versus St Helens Town, Ilkley Town versus Chadderton, Nelson versus AFC Blackpool, Pilkington versus Cleatormore Celtic, South Liverpool versus Bury, AFC, and Steeton versus Atherton Laburnum Rovers. So, Alex, I'll start with you this time.
Am I starting? Okay.
Yeah.
So the game I've gone for is Golka United versus Daisy Hill, 2nd versus 10th. I think it'll be quite interesting. Golka, kind of interesting. They've won 4 of their last 5, but they lost 2-0 at home to Holker Old Boys, which really hurt them in their pursuit of Bury. And to be honest, I can see them kind of needing to win pretty much every game for the rest of the season if they want to keep a pace with Andy Welsh's side. They've got a tricky run of fixtures coming up as well. They've got Pilkington and Bacup Borough coming up. So they could really do with a win here, especially after that defeat to Holker. Daisy Hill, kind of an interesting team the whole of this season. They've only actually drawn 3 games. I think they've lost 13. It's been a mixed season, a bit of a mix last month for them. But they're very comfortable in the middle of the table. They're not looking over their shoulder. They're not, good bit of momentum. They might make a playoff push, but Golka should win this and really need to.
Yeah, I think they're having a really good season, Golka. Well, basically, them Bury and Holker, I think, have had great seasons. Holker are fading it away a little bit now. But, you've got to look ahead to that last game of the season. Golka United versus Bury. Very last game of the season.
We're all going, right?
It could be a cracker, that, couldn't it?
I didn't know that was scheduled, but I think I'll probably be going to that one.
Yeah, that's going to be.
Everything's building up for that game, isn't it?
It is, and
it's a season finale, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I know neither side will want us saying it, but it'd be great if it went to that last game. But I think it is also, you kind of got to take a step back and think you've got Bury, Golka, and Holker Holiday Inn who have been really good this season, and yet at least one of them is going to miss out on the promotion, which is a bit heartbreaking. But that's football. So yeah. I'm going to pass this on because I think Gary's got the pick of the games in that division. I don't know where he is. He's there for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Shall I take centre stage and go for it?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Right. Well, for me, it's South Liverpool versus Bury AFC on Saturday. I dare say I'll be there all day. Such as the preparation that's gone into the game. So it's an important one for
all ticket, Gary?
It's not all ticket, but we are keeping a small amount of cash sales from the day. And what we've done this week, we put out a lot of publicity across all the various socials. And we've gone on to local groups in Manchester as well to mention the fact that tickets are on sale. They've been on sale all week. And I think we're down to the last 150 tickets. And that's the only way to guarantee entry, because the tickets will go in, we'll be ready for it, and we'll have a small amount. I think it's something like 100 cash sales on the day. Now, when you bear in mind a lot of the South support, there'll probably be around about 40 or 50 of those who will rock up on the day with their cash because they prefer to pay cash. So it's going to be quite tight. And we have encouraged everyone to buy tickets in advance, and there's a lot of info going out there. We've even had a Twitter space go out as well. That was well received. That was quite interesting. So we put all the information out, right down to a video of the ground, so people know what to expect. Because Bury AFC, they've been around a while now. They'll know what cage grounds are like. Ours is a cage ground, whereas it's got a bit of character. It has got a bit of character to it, but for us, it's a big logistical exercise. So we just want it to take place on the day and to happen. But we hope everyone has a good game. Obviously, we're open for a home win on the pitch. But as long as fans can park, nip the WC, buy a bit of merch, watch the game, get a brew at half time, fingers crossed, and get out safely, then we'll be happy. But a big occasion for South, not least as well, because South are just above the relegation line in the table. And whilst it's likely that South won't go down, we do need points quick to keep the fate in our own hands as such. Because we don't want to be sweating on FA meetings after the end of the season. And I'm sure, clubs, be it also or whoever, if they do dip below the lines, that could be quite a drawn-out process at the end. So hopefully we can make a good fist of it on Saturday, and hopefully we'll be at least 2 goals clear for the last 10 minutes when we start to get tired, and then we can take it from there. But either way, as long as it's a good game and it's played in the right spirit, which it will be, then we'll take that. Bury AFC. Interesting one for Bury, because they've just been beaten in the Manchester Premier Cup in midweek in the cruelest of fashions. We talk about late slaps in the chops. Bury equalised I think it was the quarter-final game against Trafford in the 90th minute, so they pulled it back to 2-2. So you're thinking, right, momentum's with us here at Bury. Only for Trafford 2 minutes later, with virtually the last kick of the game, to go and win it 3-2. So, Bury will be smart from that. But if you take the County Cup out of it and you look at Bury's league form, that they are still solid. That they've won so many awards recently out of the league for Player of the Month and Club of the Month, and they do that great as well. Even when they put the submissions in, they put them in right. And I say to every club, make sure that you get your Club of the Month or your Player of the Month and your Goalkeeper of the Month submissions in, because you don't have to be top of the table to win these things, but nobody ever listens. But either way, Bury seems to be doing it right. Big opportunity for them on Saturday. Likewise, it is for us. But we'll give them a game and we'll make a fight of it. But should be a good occasion.
They haven't lost yet, have they, Bury? In the league?
No, they've not.
They're the only undefeated team in the Counties League.
Yeah.
In league play, anyway.
This be a record gate for South Liverpool, Gary?
It will
in the current guise. Should I say? Yeah.
In the current guise, yeah. At the current ground, yeah, will be, yeah.
Yeah. Did you know some famous players used to play for South Liverpool?
No way. Any off the top of your head, Martin?
Peter and Love, I think.
Right.
Got it. Anyway.
Very enthused by that reaction there, Gary.
Yeah. Sorry.
Cool. Yeah.
Anyway.
Awesome.
Anyway, Jay, do you want to do your First Division North game?
Yeah, go on then, moving on to me. We're going back towards staying at the top of the table, rather, with the third team that you mentioned in that 3-horse race, Holker Old Boys. They're at home against the team at the bottom of the league, St Helens Town, at the coming weekend. I've recently had a few words with a few of the people involved at Holker Old Boys after Gareth Smith, one of the stalwarts of the club, made his 500th appearance for the club. And this is what he's had to say, actually. He told me that
crazy, isn't it?
It's mad that at this level, the way players bounce around, to play 500 games for one team in one stint as well. It's not like he's left and come back, which is really it's a lovely, wholesome story. And this is what he's told me about the season thus far. It's been a great season. They're playing some excellent football, and he's quite confident that they'll make the playoffs, which looks dead set given the fact that they are 11 points ahead of fourth place. Obviously, this month already, they've already faced Bury AFC and lost 2-0 to them. Obviously, Bury AFC, as we mentioned, the only undefeated team left in the entire North West Counties League. But as Gary was saying about South Liverpool, hoping that they can maybe be the one to take points off Bury. He said that there's many teams in that division that can take points off anybody, and he's not wrong. And that quote may well come back to bite him with the team that they're coming up against. because if anybody needs a win to just lift spirits, if nothing else, it would be St Helens Town, who are currently propping up the rest of the league on 13 points, which is 9 behind AFC Darwin in 18th, and quick maths off the top of my head, 14 points away from safety. Cleaton Celtic are the team just above the dotted line after their points deduction earlier this season, and a minus 60 goal difference, which is 38 worse than anybody else in the division. So there's not a lot for St Helens to fight for at this rate, but personal pride does go a long way in some cases. So if they are able to just get something off against a team that are currently third place by a comfortable margin, then it'll be a real confidence booster.
Yeah. They basically got every...
Still need to get those points in, don't they? They still need those points to get the goals per game and the points per game average up.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just gonna say it all comes down to points per game against other leagues these days. So you're not just fighting relegation against teams in your league, but also teams in other leagues, which is a bizarre concept, really.
And you can read the whole interview between Jay and Gareth Smith when it is released on the Northwest Counties website tomorrow.
Just a little teaser there. That's going up tomorrow.
Or today, because this podcast won't be going out today.
Oh, well, that's fair enough, yeah.
Go read.
Go now. Only because I've got to get food
Martin,
after this.
We've got quotes as well of players now in the podcast. These youngsters know what they're doing.
Well,
what next? They'll be inviting the players in.
We'll be out to tender soon, won't we? Terrible. Yeah. And we've got Carl Grimshaw in the waiting room. Let's let him in. Yeah.
Martin, do you want to go ahead and lay out your game?
I will. So the game I've selected in the north, we've done the top 3 actually, haven't we? I've just really noticed that. So I'm going to make it the top 4 by picking Baycup Borough, who this weekend entertained Campion. So Baycup slipped up last weekend. They went to Ashton Town, I believe, and got beat. It was 3-0. So that result saw them move out of the relegation spots with other results going against them. Not relegation spots, what am I about? Promotion spots, playoff spots. I knew them dotted lines mean something. I just forgot what it was. So yeah, they dropped out the playoffs with that loss, but they did play midweek. They had a comfortable 4-1 victory over Garstang, which saw them move back up to 4th. And I think from looking at the tables the other day, there's 3 teams on 41 points. So Baycup, Pilkington, and someone else. Don't forget. So, everything's there to fight for, basically, to get in them playoffs, from the bottom end.
Blackpool, I think, was the team missing there.
That's the one, yeah. Couldn't think who it was. So, yeah, it's been a number of years, really, since Baycup were in the Premier Division. They were always a Premier Division name until they had one bad season and got relegated the other year. And it shows how difficult the first divisions are to sort of come back. But if they do want to get back into the Premier Division for next season, then it will be via the playoffs. So, there's no way in my book they're going to catch Bury or Golka, to be honest. So they're at home here. They are decent at home, to be honest. They've had 8 wins, 3 draws, and just the 1 loss at home at the Brian Boys Stadium this season in the league. They face Campion, as I mentioned. Campion, they sort of come into the league. They got laterally moved over across towards Gary, didn't they, from the Northern Counties East in last summer? Campion.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So,
they were a challenger in that league as well, and now they've found a feat in our league that they've not been doing too bad.
No, they've not. Well, like you say, finding the feet. They had a really slow start. I don't think they've won many matches early on as they adjusted to the league, but they're now up to 11th in the table. Like Gary said, they're doing quite well. However, they have only won 1 out of the last 5 matches in the league. I do think this season, to be perfectly honest, Campion, it was a season of, finding your feet and figuring out who teams are in the Northwest Counties League. And I think they'll kick on next season. But for me, Baycup to continue their home form and take all 3 points here. Sorry, Brent. So, yeah, there we go.
There we go. It's First Division North.
That's the First Division North. So
we've
got 1 to go, and we're Guess what, Gary? We're going to start with you on this one, but I'm just going to read out the fixtures as I've done for the other two divisions. So, First Division South on Saturday, the 22nd of January. We do have Abbey Hay versus Sandbach United, Barnton versus Roster. I can never remember which one it is and which one it isn't. But anyway, we'll find out. Benny user interviewing and find out how you say it. Brockton versus Ellesmere Rangers, Camel Laird 1907 versus Stafford Town, Cheadle Heath Nomads versus Alsage Town, Eccleshall versus Macclesfield. Oh, Macclesfield, where am I going? Eccleshall versus St Martin's, Stockport Town versus New Mills. That was a proper blunder. That
Reading cup fixtures there.
I know, yeah.
I can be edited out.
We don't do editing on this podcast. Stockport Town versus New Mills, West Didsbury and Chorlton versus Abbey Hulton United, Withenshaw Amateurs versus Main Road, and the later kickoff is FC Isle of Man versus Cheadle Town. So there we go. Gary, your game from the First Division South, please.
Yeah, I'm going for Camel Laird versus Stafford Town. Interesting one for me, this, because Laird's, this was Laird's first home game since the passing of club legend Jeff Barr, who was a friend of mine in my time at Laird's. One of the three amigos there. There's always been a diehard of Laird's who followed the club home and away and put up with all the stuff that Laird's have been through over the years. And he was suitably saluted the other night in a Cheshire Cup game programme as well. But I'd like to give Jeff a mention because it's a funeral today on the day that this is being released as well. And a lovely fellow as well. I'm hoping that Laird's go out and do it for Jeff on this one. So I'm slightly losing my bias on this one. But Laird's had that County Cup game in midweek against Tranmere Rovers of all teams. Interesting. I've only got a couple of hundred in for that game. But good game by all accounts. Tranmere put out a pretty sharp side, and Tranmere won 4-1 on the night at the Prabu Ventures Arena. For Laird's own league form, 3 state league wins on the bounce. That sees them going into this game in good form, because prior to that...
Is he frozen for anyone else?
Yeah, he just frozen for me as well.
He definitely has.
Three wins have really given them a shot, yeah.
Gary, you froze up then. I don't know what happened, but you sort of froze like that. So you're catching flies.
Anyway, right for Laird's, they had a bad run of games up until they got into this winning run of 3 straight games that they go into this game on the back of. So that's been a shot in the arm for them. Stafford, they've only had 1 defeat in their last 5 as well. They have drawn quite a few, though, Stafford. But again, another club who've come into the counties this season. They found their feet. They know what they can do and what they can't so far. And it would be interesting if we still got Stafford with us next season to see how they do. I appreciate that they're right on that fluid boundary. So anything goes next season. But Stafford have done it well this season. And it'll be a tough game for Laird. So that there's a fair bit to play for in this one, not least personal pride. It's probably too late for either or to make the playoffs. But we'll see where we are. Let's have a quick look at the table. Stafford, they're on 37 points. So they're only 2 points behind 5th place Withenshaw Amateurs, but they're 14 points off the pace. So Division 1 South is pretty much done from 6th upwards inclusive. And then any combination of those, but still be a good game nonetheless.
Sweet. Thanks for that, Gary. Jay, what's your game that you picked from the South?
Game I'm looking at from the South. You say about the playoffs being sewn off. I'm not so sure about that with one of the teams that I'm looking at. But the game I've chosen is Abbey Hay versus Sandbach United. The first one that you rattled off on the list there, Martin. Abbey Hay are flying at the moment. Of course, they're coming off that massive FA Bars win that we mentioned earlier against FC Liverpool. They beat them on penalties. And that's a massive confidence booster to the club. I know 1 or 2 people who are involved on the media team, and I've spoken to them. recently before this podcast. Just give them a little shout out for helping me put some research together, looking at Abbey Hay, Frankie Griffiths, Ben Edgerton, and Brad Saxton. I promised I'd give them a little bit of a call. And they're looking great in the league as well, as we say. They're currently third. And they're not far behind New Mills, only the 4 points, but West Didsbury are 7 points clear of them in the one automatic promotion spot. They're fairly safe in the playoffs at the moment, and I don't think they're going to give up the fight. With that confidence booster, of course, from beating AFC Liverpool, they're not going to give up the fight going forward in the league. It's going to do wonders for how far they think they could go. As for Sandbach, I've just had a look at these recently. They're coming off a defeat to fellow high flyers New Mills. Most recently, they lost to New Mills. But looking at the table in front of me now, they are, as we mentioned, 9 points outside of the playoff places. With a win over Abbey Hay and a win on their game in hand that they have on the two teams above them, they reduced the gap on Cheadle Town to only 2 points, and the gap on Wythenshawe Amateurs to 6. So I don't think it's quite as cut and dry as you might think. They've still certainly got something to fight for, and it's something that I don't think they're going to give up on.
No, we mentioned Congleton before. I think, look, of all the sides in both first divisions, Sandbach United are the other one that frustrate me and Gary. Because
they're the one like the Congleton of the of divisions.
They're always in the playoffs, just outside the playoffs. They do fantastic in the First Division Cup. They've won that a couple of times, since they come into the league, and they just can't get over that line to get promoted, really.
Well, if this is going to be the season, then it has to be now, which means that this game, there's a lot riding on this game, momentum-wise, and what both teams will want going forward. So it should be a hell of a game.
Yeah, I think it's just changed. They're in the process of changing the manager at Sandbach United.
Yes, they are. They've started applications, haven't they? There's not been any announcement.
No.
So that's something we've spoken about in last week or so, isn't it?
We're not expecting anything before, I would say, probably the end of this month. I think they said that application. So they're not rushing into it, which is, can be seen as a good or a bad thing.
Watch him announce something now before this even goes out.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll tweet it within the hour of this.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
Yeah, and just like you say on Abbey Hay, they're still in the bars. They got drawn away at Loughborough Students, who ironically beat Sandbach. Beat
Sandbach in the previous round. I'm just seeing that in the recent fixtures. Yeah, that was a 4-0 drubbing as well. So it's going to be a challenge for Abbey Hay.
They'll no doubt be asking questions, what will Loughborough like and that. But I seen on Twitter this week that, if anybody does want to follow Abbey Hay down to Loughborough, then they are doing a coach. So get in touch with the club, and I'm sure they'd welcome your support going down there to.
I think ahead of that as well. I believe there's a media event going to be planned. Just before that game. I'm not sure if it's on the. I think the media. There's going to be a media just sort of day event planned at Abbey Hay. This is what I've been told, and the expected date is 1st of February, but that may change.
Yeah. Abbey Hay, incredibly, now that I've moved in Manchester, is my closest club, and I've still never been. So I might go to that media day.
Yeah,
I've been to one game ever at Abbey Hay's ground, and it was abandoned halfway through when the lights went out.
Oh, we'd love to see it.
Staple in non-league football.
Right, Alex.
Well, yeah.
What's your game in the First Division South then?
My game in the First Division South is West Didsbury and Chorlton versus Abbey Holton United. I actually went past West Didsbury's ground earlier today, which was very nice. Do like the club.
On the tram?
I went, via the tram, which is, a treat in itself. It's first versus 16th in the First Division South. West Didsbury have had an incredible season. They've won their last 3 games by a combined score of 12-3, which is pretty good. I think that's only marginally bettered by Fulham in the last week or so. They're 3 points clear at the top, and also have a game in hand. I don't expect them to let that grip go really on the First Division South. I think they do look in imperious form and only conceded 16 goals, which is also pretty impressive. Abbey Holton, on the other hand, they've sort of lost their last three. They haven't they have. They're 5 points above the relegation zone. Definitely looking over their shoulder. Will want to try and get something from this game if they can take anything away. It'll be pretty impressive. And they also, I discovered, have the worst discipline record in the league. So, you know, I don't think you can bet on the Northwest Counties. So I certainly wouldn't. But I'm not a betting man either, but probably bet on some cards there. And the last thing for me was West Didsbury won this 3-1 earlier in the season away from home. So I don't expect anything too different, watch as it is a 2-0 Abbey win now. But that's my preview.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating couple of months with West Didsbury and New Mills and Abbey Hay at the top of that division.
We've got New next Saturday, Jay's birthday, everyone remember. We've got New Mills against West Didsbury and Chiltern, which is a big game. I think New Mills, if they don't win that, they're out.
I'm sure Abbey Hay play West Dids as well in the next maybe 3 weeks. I think so. That's going to be an interesting few weeks at the top of that table.
Yeah, I think the First Division South is great. I think it's a really interesting division near the top at the moment. A lot of competitive games.
Yeah, well, speaking of New Mills, I'm gonna pick New Mills as my sort of team, or one of the teams in the game I picked, which is Stockport Town versus New Mills. It is a derby match, believe it or not. There's only 9 miles separate the two teams, so bit of rivalry there, I'd say.
I would say so. Yeah.
Stockport, they're in 11th place, which I think they'll be a little bit disappointed at. But it's mainly due to the start. Something I really didn't know. I mean, they've only lost 1 out of the last 5. But when you look a little bit further back, they've only lost twice since October, which is...
Yeah, they had a terrible start.
Really bad. A lot of them sort of were at home. I guess they had a bit of a turnover of players and stuff. I think they had a manager change as well in that period. But the home record, they won 4, drew 2, and lost 7. So, obviously they're turning that around now, but, a lot of that poor form does come from earlier in the season. So, in my book, they will be quite a threat for New Mills. New Mills second in the league, as you mentioned. They've only lost 1 out of their last 10 games of New Mills, and that was away at FC Isle of Man. So you could potentially excuse them for a bit. Obviously, you've got to treat Isle of Man as a one-off game. Really.
Time difference in that.
Yeah.
No, it's not that. You've got to treat like we always treated Holker Old Boys as a one-off game because
the wind's different over there.
It's basically one where you've got to go early, you've got to get up there early, potentially take a coach. Whereas with Isle of Man, you're taking the flights, and you've got to treat games like that as a one-off, unlike any other game. So that was their only loss out the last 10. Away from home, they have been good though. They've won 9 games on the road out of 14. Won 9, drew 2, lost 3. So it's a fascinating encounter this for me. You would say, looking at the league table, New Mills are favourite, but I potentially think, if they have only lost 1 out the last, or only lost twice out the last, however many games, Stockport, New Mills obviously in good form. I'm going for a draw for this one.
Big cool. None of us have gone for Isle of Man versus Cheadle Town, which I think is also a pretty big game in the First Division South.
Something we're looking at, Cheadle are breathing down the next to the playoff places. Isle of Man sitting there fairly comfortably. I've just noticed something as well. Gary, you're looking at the Camel Laird versus Stafford Town game. Is Gary still there?
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah.
Is he? There we go. That game as well. I've just noticed something on the league table. Camel Laird in 10th place with a goal difference of -16. Stockport Town in 11th place with a goal difference of +14.
It's crazy.
That's a curious one I picked up on.
Yeah, it's all about the points.
Full of the counties.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? You can win as many games as you like 1-0 and then lose 9-0.
Yeah,
Things like that can happen.
St Martin's either, yeah. But...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, none of us have looked at St Martin's, but I'm very interested in looking at the way the rest of their season will pan out.
Well, St. Martin's a bit of a local derby this weekend against Eccleshall, so
Yeah.
Does anybody want to be brave with the score prediction?
Could this be their first win? Who knows?
Is anybody going to take a punt and predict that one?
I don't think that's
No.
fine.
I'm busy.
Yeah, I'm so busy right now.
Right, I think we've covered everything. Gary, where are you off to this weekend? South Liverpool, you said?
I'll be donning my high vis vest, and I'll be at South for most of the day to lend hands on. So it's all hands on deck at South this weekend.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll just have a good occasion of it. There'll be lots of planning gone into it, so we'll see where we're at.
You know what they say: win or lose, hit the food.
There you go.
Words to live by.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Alex, where are you off?
I'm not at a game this weekend. I'm visiting my brother in Bristol.
Oh,
so, yeah. It's a week off for me, so you won't see me on anything.
All right.
Nice to keep you updated.
Well, and enjoy Bristol. I've only been to once, and that was on a stag do years and years ago. It was a good day though.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good.
Remember going to this bar that was on a boat. It was a bit hazy. It must have been mid afternoon.
Yeah, dreamt that.
Anyway, Jay, where are you off to?
I'll be going to the Eddie Man Park for the game I mentioned earlier, Prestwich Hayes against Withershall Town.
Yeah, I think that could be a cracker. I really do.
Yeah.
I really hope you're right.
Yeah, and like Alex, I'm not at a game this weekend, but soon will be. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's everything. No gossip. I've not wrote anything down to gossip about or nothing. So because I'm hungry, I'm going to wrap this up and go and get some food. It's a bit selfish of me, but you know.
I think you've just spoken for all of us.
You don't get this figure without eating. I'll tell you that. So Jay, thanks for joining us on your debut on the.
Yeah, absolutely. I've enjoyed it. It's been nice to chat to everybody and do a little bit more research into the leagues and some of the games that are coming up this weekend. It's giving me more to keep my eye on as well.
Yep, and enjoy Prestwich.
Absolutely, I will.
Alex, have a nice weekend in Bristol. Yeah, Bristol.
Here's mine.
I had Birmingham in my head for a minute then, but yeah, enjoy Bristol. See if you can find out that boat for me that sell beer.
I will do.
I'm guessing it's a permanent boat that's docked and it's been converted into a bar, but it has been about 10, 12 years. So
it was a stag do. We'll let you off.
I'll let you know mine. Honestly, I'll keep an eye out. Yeah,
I'm surprised you remember going at all.
At South Liverpool.
Yeah. And I hope the day goes really well for you, Gary. Not necessarily the result because that's football, but you know, as an occasion, I hope everything goes really well for South Liverpool this weekend.
Absolutely, it should be.
It's crossed.
Yeah,
lots gone into it, so it's good. It's good to see Bury as well. Bury AFC, the volunteers there, they've been all over it as well. So they've been giving us a hand. They've been helping the club secretary out with pointers, what to expect, and so on. And the fans have aired us out when we put stuff out. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Fabulous. Right, well, have a nice weekend, guys. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in. It does help the sort of algorithm or something if you sort of subscribe to the podcast. Yeah, I don't know how YouTube works with all these things. If you hit the bell though, that does notify you when we upload a new podcast, which have been on Fridays so far. So I'll get editing this now. Well, not now, after my tea. And then hopefully this will be on YouTube Friday in good time for the weekend games. But thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
See you guys.